all witnesses are constructively sworn, so we can dispense with that formality.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I'm ready when you are.
Good morning, Mrs. White.
Morning.
Please state your name, spelling your last for the record.
Hi, my name is Amari White. My last name is spelled W-H-I-T-E.
Tell the members of the jury a bit about yourself.
Sure. I have a husband and 2 twin boys at home, which means that I definitely have my hands full. When my husband and I aren't working, he coaches the boys' middle school basketball team, and I coach the cheerleaders. I'll admit, a lot of times there's really not all that much to cheer for. The team's not very good, but I try my best not to blame the coach.
Where do you and your family live?
We live in an apartment complex in the Bellevue neighborhood of Truman, which puts us just inside the District 12 border.
What is it like to live in District 12?
I would say that our neighborhood definitely has its challenges. You know, there are a lot of people who work really hard, but a lot of pay cuts, a lot of layoffs recently. I think that's part of the reason why people seemed really excited when Elizabeth Ginger announced that she was running for mayor.
What did you find so exciting about Elizabeth Ginger as a candidate?
Well, she was from District 12, and you know, as long as I've lived there, that's the first person I've heard of from our district running for mayor. So that was really nice to hear. You know, and her campaign kind of focused, as far as I could tell, on helping out struggling families like my own. So I think that it seemed like that really spoke to the people of our district, myself
Objection,
included.
Your Honor. Speculation.
How
This
so?
witness can testify to how she felt about Ms. Ginger's campaign, but to speculate about the community of District 12 and why they were enthusiastic about Ms. Ginger, how they felt about her campaign, is speculative on the part of the witness.
Ms. Fisher?
It is not speculation. This witness is here to speak about her rationally based perception, and we have laid the foundation that she was a resident of District 12, and she could see the things happening in her district. They were having a hard time, there were layoffs, and this candidate excited the people of Truman Midlands.
Your objection, your last word?
I would just say that she can talk about her own perceptions and how she felt about the campaign, but to extend that to the entire community of District 12 would be speculative on her part.
That's what I heard her as doing, and I trust that the jury will understand that that's what she's saying and not stating it as fact. If you feel that she does go beyond that line, feel free to remove your objection. So overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Mrs. White, what was this election for mayor like as opposed to others that you'd experienced?
I've lived in District 12 for a while now, and it just seemed like this election, compared to past elections that I've lived in District 12 for, was very strange.
What do you mean?
Well, for starters, the weeks leading up to the election, my family experienced a bunch of phone calls and a text message from a really weird number that said that they were from the Midlands Election Commission.
Let's talk about these phone calls first. Can you tell us what happened when you received them?
Yeah, every time, all 3 times, I picked up the phone and someone was on the other end of the line telling me they were from the Midlands Election Commission, telling me that I had to have a college education to vote for mayor, telling me that I had to own a home in District 12
Objection,
for
Your
mayor.
Honor. Hearsay.
As to what?
The statements made by the person on the other end of the phone.
Are they hearsay?
Your Honor, because they're out-of-court statements being offered for the truth of the matter. Now, statements can have either an affirmative or negative truth value.
What's the truth value of these statements?
Well, they're using the statements to show that their negative truth value, that in fact they aren't true, and because they're still using the statements to prove any sort of truth value, that's still inadmissible hearsay.
Your response?
These are not being used for the truth of the matter asserted. We are not saying that she needs to own a home to vote or needs a college degree to vote. We are simply saying that these phone calls did occur.
Miss Kylene, where are you getting that negative truth value language that you are saying exists as part of the hearsay rule?
Well, Your Honor, hearsay is defined as an out-of-court statement being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. Now, truth can have a different truth value. In this case, using it to show that they aren't true is using the nature of the truth of the statement to show that it's in fact false. They're still using the statement to say whether the statement's true or false. It's going to the truth of the matter.
I think the truth of the matter, though, the aspect of a negative truth value is way too academic for my thinking at this point in the morning. I think there's only one truth of the matter whether it's true or not. Ms. Fisher says she's not using it for the fact that it's true, so therefore it's overruled. If you feel that she does begin using it for the truth, feel free to renew your objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Mrs. White, you were talking about phone calls you received. Can you tell us about those?
Yeah, like I was saying, there was one where I got a phone call. The guy told me that I had to own a home in order to vote for mayor in my district. Another one that said that if I'd ever been arrested, I couldn't vote. And the last one was about the fact that I had to have a college degree in order to vote in my town.
What was your reaction to these phone calls?
Well, honestly, I felt a little targeted. You know, I don't own a home. My family and I, we live in an apartment. So, you know, I felt like someone was trying to get us not to vote. Again, you know, when I received the phone call about the education stuff, I don't have a college degree, and I would like to exercise my right to vote, you know.
Now, you also mentioned text messages. Can you tell us about that text message that you received?
Sure. It was actually on election day, and I looked at my phone. I was getting ready for work, and I had a text message. It said that I could vote either March 17th or March 18th, but if I did decide to vote on March 18th, that there would be shorter lines.
Would you recognize this text message if I showed it to you in court today?
Sure.
Your Honor, permission to approach opposing counsel with proposed plaintiff one?
Yep.
Permission to approach the witness with the same?
Yep.
Mrs. White, do you recognize that?
Yeah, this is the text message.
And is it a fair and accurate copy of that text message?
It looks the same as when I screenshotted it, yeah.
Plaintiff moves to admit plaintiff one into
Any
evidence.
objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
Now, Mrs. White, at the top of the screenshot, is this the phone number that was contacting you?
Yeah, this is the same one. It contacted me. That was the same number that called my house all 3 times and the same number that texted me.
Did you recognize that phone number at all?
No. I just know it was the same number that called my house all 3 times, and I know it was the same number that texted me. And the guy on the phone sounded similar the whole time. I recognized his voice.
I'd now like to move your attention to Election Day itself. Did you try to vote that day?
Yeah. You know, at this point, I didn't really know if I was going to be able to. I did all these discouraging phone calls and stuff like that, but I had made a plan to vote, you know, before I got these phone calls, so I decided I was going to see it through.
Now, what happened on that day?
Okay, so I got to the polling place and I tried to find a place to park, and I got in line, and there were just a ton of people everywhere. The place was a madhouse. But then I got in line, and there was this guy that just had a stack of flyers, and he was handing them out.
What did these flyers say?
They said the same thing that I had received the phone call about. You know, they said that I had to have a college degree to vote, and that I had to own a home in my town to vote for mayor. And, you know, not only did I have to have these things, but I had to be able to prove them at the door, like they were going to be checking for a house deed and for a diploma. And I don't know who carries those things on them, and I certainly didn't have either of them.
Would you recognize this flyer if I showed it to you in court today?
Yeah.
May I approach opposing counsel with proposed plaintiff two?
Yes.
May I approach the witness with the same?
Yes.
Thanks.
Mrs. White, do you recognize that document?
This is it. This is the flyer that the guy was handing out.
Is it a fair and accurate copy of that flyer?
Yeah, it looks exactly the same as when he gave it to me.
Plaintiff moves to admit plaintiff two into
Any
evidence.
objection?
No objections.
It's admitted.
Mrs. White, what did you do after receiving this flyer?
Well, first I asked the guy's name. You know, I've been receiving phone calls and text messages and now this flyer. He said his name was Bailey Reynolds, and I asked him for some ID. I wanted to know who this guy was. I wanted to know if he was actually from the Midlands Election Commission, where he claimed to come from.
Did he show you his ID?
No. So I took his picture with my phone, and he started to get a little skittish. He seemed a little panicky when I said I was going to call the cops.
Would you recognize that picture that you took if I showed it to you?
Yeah.
Permission to approach opposing counsel?
Yes.
Permission to approach witness?
Yes.
Thanks.
Mrs. White, do you recognize that picture?
This is the guy. This is Bailey Reynolds. That's what he said his name was.
And is it a fair and accurate copy of the picture you took on March 17th?
Yep, it looks exactly the same.
Plaintiff moves to admit plaintiff three into evidence.
Any objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
Now, Mrs. White, had you ever seen this man prior to March 17th?
No. I did recognize his voice, though. It sounded like the guy who had called me all those times about, like, the voter requirements and stuff.
How do you know that?
Well, I had my suspicions, like when he first introduced himself as Bailey Reynolds, but I wanted to confirm it for myself. So when he started to walk away, I pulled out my phone and I called the same phone number that had, texted me.
And did anyone answer?
Yeah, the Bailey Reynolds guy did. As soon as I pulled out my phone and dialed the number, I saw him take out his phone and he put his phone to his ear.
Did he say anything?
Not really. He didn't really have to, though. Like, he turned around and we made eye contact. I had my phone in my hand to my ear, and he had his phone in his hand to his ear.
Now, Mrs. White, do you think you would recognize another picture of this man if I showed it to you?
Definitely.
Plaintiff moves to admit Plaintiff 4 into evidence. Now, this is a criminal record of a man named Casey French, accompanied by a certificate of authenticity pursuant to 8038. This is not hearsay.
Before any movement to enter, please show it to Ms. Kylene and give me a copy as well.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, so you are moving to enter this at this time.
Yes, Your Honor. The certificate of authenticity is on the second page.
Any objection, Ms. Kylene?
Yes, Your Honor. I would say that, one, the proper foundation hasn't been laid through this witness that she has any idea what this document is, if she's ever seen it before. Therefore, one, I would say it's improper to try to admit this exhibit through this witness. Second, I would say pursuant to Midland's Rules of Evidence 403, I would object to the relevance of this exhibit even being entered at all.
403, do you mean the 403, you were objecting to the prejudicial value?
Yeah, that it's the prejudicial effect of entering an arrest record substantially outweighs any probative value.
Let's deal with, so you have two objections on the table. Let's deal with foundation first. What's your objection? What's your response to the foundation
Yes, Your Honor.
objection?
I have asked this witness if she would recognize another picture of the man she saw distributing false information to the voters. Now, we are using this for identification purposes to show that the man that introduced himself as Bailey Reynolds, in fact, is Casey French. It's purely for identification.
How does that establish the foundation?
This witness has seen the man, and this is a public record, so she may look at this and authenticate that this is the man.
May I be heard?
Yes,
in response
please.
to that? Your Honor, it's improper to use an arrest record simply for identification purposes. Now, the photograph, yes, she may be able to say that's the same man, but any other information on this document is improper for this exhibit to be entered. It's an arrest record. Thus, it's prejudicial if they're only
We're dealing with foundation right
Yes.
now. Just foundation at this point.
Yes.
May I reply to foundation?
I'm going to give her, Ms. Kylene, a little more time.
Well, I would say that the proper foundation for this entire document hasn't been laid through this witness, that she knows any of the information, that simply she's just using it to identify the picture, but she's already identified the man in the photograph that she took. The foundation hasn't been laid that she can authenticate or identify any other information in this document.
Ms. Fisher, is this witness going to be able to lay the foundation that this is a public record?
Your Honor, the certificate of authenticity lays that foundation for the plaintiff. I can ask the witness to read off the certificate and make sure that it is signed by the notary public.
What is your response to that? I am looking at the certificate. It does say, City of Truman, Office of Public Records. It looks to be signed by a notary with the state seal. Would that suffice for your foundation concerns, Ms. Kylene?
If the jury's made aware that it's authentic, then yes, but we still have the second objection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, if the jury's made aware that it is an authentic public record, and they're made aware of that, then the foundation can be laid. But I
Okay.
still have other issues with the document.
Okay, well, given that, I will overrule the foundation objection at this moment. Now let's deal with 403. Explain your 403 objection.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, opposing counsel said they're only using this document to identify the man in the photograph. To enter this document in with all of the information of this man's criminal history substantially outweighs any probative value. It's prejudicial for the jury to know any of this man's charges when they're not even related in any way to today's case.
Response, Ms. Fisher?
A limiting instruction can be applied to this document. We are using the photograph and the known aliases to identify this man. This is absolutely relevant in today's case because it goes to show a connection between the man distributing the false information and Mayor Heisman.
So what limiting instruction or redactions or whatever are you proposing?
I will only ask this witness whether this is Bailey Reynolds or Casey French.
So you're not proposing any redactions to the document itself?
No, just that I will be limiting my questions to this witness.
What is your response?
Your Honor, it's still improper to admit this document in evidence when it has other information that is prejudicial on the jury. If they want to only use the top portion that says Bailey Reynolds and Casey French and substantially strike any other of the criminal history following, we're amenable to that because this witness cannot testify to any of the charges, who represented Mr. French, the dates. That's all irrelevant, and this witness can't testify to any of that.
Yeah, Ms. Fisher, I am a little bit concerned about, especially, understanding we are outside the presence of the jury
Yes.
here constructively. I see a murder charge here that was dismissed. It seems like you put that in front of a jury. I mean, I have full faith that our jury is smart and can understand what information means, but you put that in front of a jury, I think Ms. Kylene has a point that it is very, very prejudicial. What is your response to, I think Ms. Kylene was proposing to redact the entire criminal history. Is that what you were doing?
Yes, we're amenable to redacting all the criminal history and only using the photograph and the known aliases.
Okay, is that okay with you?
No, we are amenable to taking out the charges, like the actual charges of this man. However, this who represented him is still a connection and establishes a connection that is absolutely relevant. We agree to redacting the actual charges.
All of them?
Yes.
Is that okay with you?
We're amenable to redacting all of the charges.
Okay, so just that column? Anything else?
Just that column.
Anything else, Ms. Kylene?
We're amenable to that.
Okay, we will constructively redact the entire charge column, and the document will be entered pending testimony about, on the record about the certification page.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes, please.
This is what I'm handing you, a criminal record of a man named Casey French.
Okay.
Can you look at that picture and tell me if you recognize him?
Yeah, this looks like the guy who introduced himself to me as Bailey Reynolds.
And do you see the name Bailey Reynolds anywhere on that document?
Yeah, actually, under the aliases portion, it says that the guy's name is Bailey Reynolds, but it also says at the top that this guy's name is Casey French, so I guess they're the same guy.
No. Do you see Mayor Heisman's name anywhere on this document?
Yeah, actually, he's on here a couple times. Mayor Heisman was this guy's attorney.
Thank you. No further questions. May I approach the witness and tender evidence to the bench?
Yes.
I will fix the redaction.
Yeah, it's constructive.
Constructive.
So, yeah.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness and give a copy of plaintiff for the criminal record.
Sure. The redacted version?
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Ms. White, I just want to pick up right where we left off talking about this criminal record.
Sure.
Now, you mentioned that Mayor Heisman represented this man, right?
Well, that's what it says here. It says like 3 different times he was Casey French's attorney.
Right, I want to talk about, just make it clear for the jury, when those instances happened.
Okay.
The first time was in 2001.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Second time was in 2002, right?
Yep, according to the criminal record.
And the third time was in 2004, right?
Yep, that's what it says.
So according to this document, it's been 11 years since Ms. Heisman represented this man, right?
Yep, according to this, that's what it says.
Permission to approach and retrieve. center for District 12 was moved a few weeks before the election, right?
Yeah, it was really strange. Like, usually it's at the high school, and this year it was at a gym.
Right, but you would agree with this location change, it was very prominent, wasn't it?
Prominent? Oh, you mean like the
The
advertising?
advertisement, right? There were flyers notifying about the change.
Sure.
You even heard some things on the news and the radio.
Oh, yeah, there were some radio ads.
And you'd agree with me that there was nothing to you to indicate that Ms. Heisman had anything to do with why the location was changed, right?
I just know that it was a super inconvenient change for me. I don't know who made the decision.
But you would agree that there was nothing to indicate that Ms. Heisman was involved in that, right?
I don't know who was involved in that.
Right, so let's talk about Election Day. Now, you mentioned some of the lines were long on Election Day,
They
right?
were super long this year. I don't know. There were like 250 people in line once I got there.
And you would agree that you didn't even get into the polling center until 7:05, right?
Yeah, it was seriously. I was there for like 2 hours to press a button on a machine. It was crazy.
And you would also agree with me, Ms. White, that the polls were supposed to close at 7.
Yeah, I think that's what I saw posted.
But the polling center allowed the center to remain open so the people had a chance to come in and vote, right?
Yeah, I was already in line. She didn't shut the door in my face or anything like that.
Right, so everyone was in line, still had a chance to go in and cast their vote on Election Day.
Yeah, I mean, I was towards the end of the line, so there weren't very many people, there left at 7, just me, who had been there for 2 hours, but yeah, I did get a chance to vote.
They kept the doors open for you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I want to talk about the phone calls and the text messages that you mentioned on your direct examination.
Sure.
Now, the number that you received the phone calls from, you don't know if that number has anything to do with Ms. Hatzman, right?
No, I don't know.
You don't know if the nature of the phone calls had anything to do with Ms. Heisman, right?
Well, the nature of the phone calls was about like voting requirements and stuff. I don't know who they came from. They said they were from the Midlands Election Commission.
Right, they didn't say they were from the mayor's office, right?
Not that I remember.
And you yourself doubt that the calls came from Ms. Heisman or anyone involved in her campaign, right?
Well, I don't think that Mayor Heisman was making the calls personally. In my opinion, I think it kind of helped Mayor Heisman since we were all kind of rooting for Ginger, but...
Oh, Ms. White, I just want to make it clear we just said a jury. You don't believe that Ms. Heisman was the one making those phone calls?
Not personally, no.
Right, now let's talk about that text message. You received a text message on Election Day, right?
I did.
And you know that the information in it wasn't true.
Yeah, I knew that you couldn't vote on both days.
So you wanted to let people know that it wasn't true.
Well, I mean, yeah, I sent it to a couple of my friends.
Well, Ms. White, you're on the PTA at your children's school, right?
I am. I coach the cheerleaders and I'm on the PTA. I try to stay as much involved as I can.
Right, and your husband is also the coach of your son's basketball team, right?
He is.
Right, so you and your husband, you know a lot of people in District 12, don't you?
And that's where we live, yeah.
Right, so when you received this text, you wanted to let the members of the community that you're involved in know that it wasn't true.
I mean, I don't think I sent it to everybody I know. I mean, I sent it to a couple people, but...
Right, and you thought when you received that text that you should send it and let as many people know as you could that it wasn't true.
Right, but I mean, I was getting ready for work. I didn't have a whole lot of time. But yeah, I did send it to a couple people.
Right. Now, let's see, Ms. White. I want to talk about now Mr. French and the flyer that you said that you received.
Okay.
Commissioner will approach the witness with a copy of the flyer.
Is this
The one
evidence?
that's entered into evidence,
Okay.
Your Honor.
Thanks.
Now, Ms. White, there's nothing on that flyer that indicates that it came from the office of Mayor Heisman, right?
Not that I'm seeing here, no.
And the man who was handing it out, he wasn't wearing anything that indicated he was affiliated with Ms. Heisman, right?
Not that I can remember.
He didn't say he was there on behalf of Mayor Heisman.
No, he never said that.
Right, and you said that you got to the gym around 5:40 that day, right?
Yeah, it was right after work I went there.
And you parked your car around 5:45.
Yep, it was crazy. It was a madhouse trying to park.
And when you were walking to get in line, that's when the man came up to you and handed this flyer, right?
Yeah, he had like a stack that he was handing out to literally everybody in line. It was crazy.
Right, and then right after you took his picture and you threatened to call the cops, well, he left, didn't he?
Yeah, after I saw him pick up the phone and stuff, yeah, he
So
left.
this man was no longer at the gym handing people these flyers.
I don't know where he went.
Well, you said he ran away.
He walked away from me, yeah.
Right, and then you didn't see him at the gym after that.
Well, yeah, because after that, I voted.
Yeah, and you said you were waiting in line for a whole hour after this incident happened.
Yeah,
right?
inside the building.
And during this time, you didn't see this man,
Nope.
and you didn't see him passing out any more flyers.
Well, no, you walked away from me.
Right, now, Ms. White, on election day, well, the polls open around 7 a.m., don't they?
I'm not sure.
Well, they open earlier in the morning, right?
I don't know when they open. I just know that I went after work.
Right, well, there could have been a large window of time all day before you arrived. You weren't at the polling center, right?
I didn't go until after I got out of work. I don't know.
So you don't know what went on at the polling center before you arrived at around 5:45?
No, I don't.
So you don't know if this man was at the polling center?
No, I don't know. I just know that I saw a lot of people, you know, with the flyers in line. He was passing them out to people in line when I got there.
You don't know if anybody all day before you arrived received that flyer?
Well, I know that the people who got in line before me did.
So bringing you back to my question, you don't know if anyone received the flyer before you arrived on election day?
No, I don't know that.
You don't know if anyone before you arrived was told any false
Objection,
information?
cumulative evidence. This witness has already said that she didn't know what happened before she arrived at the polling place, and any more of these questions are cumulative.
The standard under 403 is that it's substantially, needlessly cumulative. We're not at that level yet.
Yes,
I think the jury might have a point, by now, but overruled.
So I just want to make it clear, Ms. White, that you have no idea whether someone was told false voting information or received this flyer before 5:45 p.m.
Well, I just know what happened when I got there. You're right.
Right, now I just want to talk a little bit about why you're here testifying today.
Okay.
You'd agree with me that you dislike Mayor Heisman.
I don't dislike Mayor Heisman.
Well, you dislike her platform, don't you?
Not really.
It's your testimony that you agree with Ms. Heisman's platform?
It's not what I said. I listen to all the candidates when they run for mayor.
Well, Ms. White, you don't think Mayor Heisman's platform is good for working class folks.
I didn't think that this year her campaign particularly helped our group, but I would listen to it when she made speeches and stuff.
Well, I'm not asking whether you listened to it, I'm asking whether you agreed with it, and you disagreed with Mayor Heisman's platform, right?
Some of the stuff.
In fact, you were a very big supporter of Ms. Ginger.
No.
Well, Ms. White, you donated money to Ms. Ginger's campaign.
Yeah, one time I was at a rally and I had like $10 in my pocket. It wasn't a big deal or anything.
Well, right, you even received a thank you note from Ms. Ginger after you donated that money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you still have that thank you note today.
Yeah, I thought it was very well written.
Right, and you even considered volunteering for Ms. Ginger's campaign, right?
Right, like you said though, I coached the cheerleaders at the middle school, PTA. I don't really have the time for that.
Right, so if you had the time, you would have supported and volunteered on behalf of Ms. Ginger.
I would have considered it.
Right, and now you're here today testifying for Ms. Ginger.
I'm just testifying to what I saw and the stuff that I, experienced before Election Day.
Well, I want to be clear, Ms. White, you weren't subpoenaed by the plaintiff, were you?
No, ma'am.
You were here on a volunteer basis testifying against Mayor Heisman.
I'm just here to testify to what I saw.
So that's a yes to my question. You're here on a volunteer basis testifying against Mayor Heisman.
I'm volunteering to, talk about what I saw, yeah.
And testify against Mayor Heisman.
I guess.
I have no further questions.
Ms. Fisher, any redirect?
No, Your Honor, I just asked if the witness be able to step down.
She may. Ms. Ishmael, please.